Good morning, it's Louise here again. Now look, I want to talk about a particular subject that's very close to my heart, and a subject that probably affects quite a few people out there in the world today. It's a very real subject. It's a subject that we can deny and try and ignore, or we can deal with it and we can work with it. And that is the subject of depression. Now, the reason I'm talking about it is I feel I'm pretty well covered in being able to deal and talk about this, because I have been diagnosed as clinically depressed in the past, and I have been on medication, and I have taken the course of tablets, and I have gone through the tests, and I have been to the doctor's visits, and I have had to answer no end of different questions and all sorts of things, and being unfit for work because of it, not being able to communicate to and with people, being afraid to step out of the front door, still deal with at times the intense fear or constrictive feeling of actually meeting new people and having to talk about things and talk about myself. That's the one side. The other side is how that depression has actually changed me, how it's actually encouraged me and built me up. It's made me look at life in a completely different way. So depression, if you've never had it, is something that you really can't understand. Look, everybody will say, "Oh, I've been depressed. I know it's to be I know what depression's all about, and I can deal with it, and blah blah blah." Well, that's true. Everybody does have an idea of what it is to be depressed. They can have down days, days where things just don't flow, and they get a bit down about it. They get a bit depressed, but the next day they wake up and boom, they're back up to normal, and everything's hunky dory. And then there's people like ourselves that we are depressed, and every single day it's like a grey cloud is over our heads. It's trying to make sense of that knotted, complete, twisted ball of thoughts that's in our head, in our psyche, and trying to communicate to somebody about what we're feeling and how we're experiencing this deep and intense isolation of thought and feeling and whatever else is going on inside of us, and not being able to have it coming up through the mouth and speaking. The thoughts are going crazy in our head, but the mouth is silent. And the intense feelings that we're feeling on the inside of failure and inadequacy and aloneness and isolation and just absolutely not feeling anything at times. These are very real things that we have to understand are not always our fault. I want you to hear that. It's not always our fault. A lot of the time, due to diet, due to belief systems, and unfortunately due to the makeup of our chemical body intake, all right, by natural means, like our vitamins and our minerals in our body and our serotonin levels and etc. These things are wonky and upside down, and we need help because we don't always know how to control it, how to deal with it. There's a very simple thing that a lot of us don't even know about until we've in the middle of depression and we're going through all the different sort of things. And so even then, sometimes we're not even sure about it. It's the thyroid. The thyroid, our thyroid, plays a huge part in our serotonin levels, in our HT levels. It balances our metabolism. There is so much about our bodies that we don't fully understand. We trust so much in the medical society and what they tell us and about how we should be and what we should be, etc. Then again, there's the stresses and pressures of work and family life and not family life and not working that just compound everything about us. Now, those are the facts. Those are the things that we deal with, and there are millions of other examples out there that you experience that I perhaps have not experienced, but they're there for us to acknowledge and know that it's a very real thing. But how do we deal with it in today's society? How do we deal with it in our own lives? How do we deal with it in our family? How do we explain to the one that we love, hey, I'm standing on the precipice. I'm on the very edge of the abyss here. I can see the downward spiral of depression that's pulling me in. I'm feeling it. I don't want to go there, but I can feel it. And that strong magnetic pull is just, it's there. I can't think. I can't function. I just want to pull curtains over the windows. I want to pull the covers over my head. I just don't want to exist at this moment. You see, that's a very big, important thing that I want to talk about as well. Is a lot of people misunderstand people with depression when they say, I don't want to live. I feel like I don't want to be here. They immediately make that huge jump from, oh, the person's depressed to the person's suicidal. And that's a no-no. How dare you, who have not been in this position, make that assumption for us? Because for a person who is depressed, suicide may eventually one day come upon the thing. And I've been there. I've had those thoughts. Hands up. I've been there. But when those thoughts have come, it's been far different from, I feel so useless. I feel so bad. I can't get out of bed. I don't want to be here. I don't want to feel anything at the moment. I don't want to exist in this moment. To, I want to kill myself. There is a huge difference. Now, it's quite a statement I made there, and I make no apologies for it, because I've been down this path. And I have learnt how to deal with myself and still deal with myself. Now, I like to make a statement that I've said before, and I'll say it again. I have lived with depression, and I have moved on. Do I still suffer from depression? Yes, there are days where depression knocks on my door. But I no longer live with depression. Depression no longer owns me. I own depression. In other words, what I'm saying, and I want you to hear me, is that we can live healthy and profitable and balanced lives even as a person suffering from depression. Now, there will be days where all you want to do is dig a big emotional hole and bury yourself and not talk to anybody. Do you know what? Don't judge yourself for those days. Don't judge yourself. I'm not saying fall into the trap of self-pity and wallowing, but don't judge yourself for those days, because we all know that we will come out of them. We just don't see it at that time. We don't feel it at that time. And now the next subject, or the next part of this particular subject, I want to speak to those people who live with people of depression. When your partner, your sister, your brother, your child, your workmate, your flatmate is in those moments, the worst thing you can do is go, how you doing, mate? Come on, it'll be all right. Jack up, smile, life's not that bad. Because for them, it is that bad. And the more you go on and tell them to cheer up, the worse you're actually making it feel. The best thing you can do is actually say, hey, do you want a coffee? Do you want a burger? Do you want, let's go from this room to the lounge and have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. And it doesn't matter how long you take, but just talk to me. Tell me what you're feeling. Because sometimes that's all we want, is we want somebody that we trust, and somebody that we know is not going to laugh at us or tell us that everything's going to be all right and try to fix us. What we're looking for is somebody who will hear us. And hear us when we say, well, I don't know how I feel. I just feel alone. I just feel like I'm in a black cloud. I don't feel that I'm able to be cohesive in whatever I'm doing. I don't know how to express what I'm feeling. I'm okay, but I'm not. And we will use these short phrases. And what we need you to do is just listen. To top that cup of tea up, to top that coffee cup up, to put a bagel in front of us or something, and make sure we eat. Because when we're that low, our serotonin is low. Our blood sugar is low. And we don't know how to look after ourselves in those moments. So we go to the extremes. We have the extreme high, the extreme lows, because we can't find that balance that's in the middle. And that's where we need your help. We don't need to be doped up to the eyeballs by the medical world. What we do need is more serotonin in our bodies. We don't need the serotonin to be blocked and then drip fed through our system, which is what the medical society does with the tablets that we're on. At least that's what was with the ones that I was taking. It didn't help me. I became worse, more depressed even, if that's possible. But my story of healing, I will get to it, and I will get to it in a couple of these other videos. But my question is, how do you cope with depression? And I'm talking to the people out there that are in my tribe, my subculture, the tribe of the depressed. And I know that I laugh and I make a joke of that title, and really and truly it's actually quite a sad title to belong to that, but it's very empowering at the same time, because when I own what is going on with me, notice I didn't say what I am, because I am not depression. I have moments where I am depressed, and sometimes those moments can last days, but I am not the depression. The depression does not own me. It is a symptom and a cause of a chemical imbalance in my body. And when I can find out what that chemical imbalance is by visiting a naturopath or a natural herbalist, or somebody who is in the able to read every part of what's going on in my body, not just treat the symptoms, but treat the cause. When did we first start getting depressed? What was the trigger points? Was it a trauma in the family? Was it a failure? Was it something that happened that we looked at ourselves and we literally froze in time? Yes, our bodies progressed and everything around us progressed and went on and lived their lives, but emotionally in that particular time, we froze. Because that's what happened to me. I froze in a certain time, in a certain moment, emotionally. And because that part of me didn't grow, it created this imbalance inside of me. Once I was able to ascertain what that was and begin to work on it with help, I was able to see how everything else started to swim back and click in, and I'm able to move forward. I'm still using supplements to correct the serotonin balance in my life. Unfortunately, I fell into the trap of listening to the medical world, and I had my thyroid removed. I didn't need it removed. I could have balanced it out with certain dietary plans, etc., but that wasn't explained to me. It was, oh no, you need your thyroid out and you need to go on these tablets for the rest of your life because the tablets are better for you than your own natural body. No, my body was out of whack. My body was not working properly. So instead of helping me fix my whole body, they took a part of me away. Now look, I'm not saying that every single medical person out there is wrong and does a bad job. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is, before you allow anything to be put in you or taken out of you, get a second opinion. And sometimes the second opinion is going to a trained naturopath, going to a trained alternative healing person and saying, what can you tell me? And then once you've got all the information in front of you from the people who've gone to medical school for 100 years and they've got their degrees and certificates and all the rest of it, and you've gone to the naturopath and they have got their degrees and they've studied, and you've got all the different points of reference in front of you, then make an educated decision about what's good for you. And sometimes it might mean, okay, I'm going to try this for a set period of time and see what happens. If nothing happens, then I might have to try this. And that's what I did. Once I had learnt by my mistake of having my thyroid removed, of what I needed to do. Except what I did is I went medical, and that didn't work. So I had to wean myself off of the medical chemicals so that I could go on to natural supplements, because otherwise one would cancel out the other. Depression is nothing to flick your hands at. It's nothing to smile or laugh about. It's not a fun thing to be, and I understand this. Even more so recently, where I've had to go through some more understanding for myself and recognizing the triggers of depression and how certain things and stimulus from outside of myself actually triggers the voices in my head that tell me I'm useless, I'm no good, and how can I even think of achieving anything? No wonder this and no wonder that and blah, blah, blah. But you see, as soon as I recognize what the trigger was, and I go back to that point, and I own it, the voices stop. Why do they stop? Because I'm taking ownership of that moment, and I'm saying to them, you have no right to speak to me that way. You have no right to tell me I'm useless, because I'm very much a valuable piece. I'm a valuable person. I have value. You have no right to tell me that I'm stupid, because I am intelligent. And so on, and so on. Now, for a lot of people, this is outside of the parameters of understanding with depression. I'm depressed, therefore I am depressed. But you're not the depression. You suffer from moments and days, weeks of being depressed. But you can break free. There is light at the other end of the tunnel. You don't have to live in that place of depression. You can live outside of that place. And yes, there are times where the two places will unfortunately still overlap, but you have the empowerment to move up, so you're no longer under depression, but you can be the observer. You can be on top of what's going on. You can take ownership of your actions, take ownership of who you are. Look, healing is not a mystery. And if we can but understand that we have within ourselves, our bodies were meant and created to heal themselves. And I know I'm jumping from different things at the moment, but it will be clearer as I put up more and more of these little snippets. And as I'm coming up to the end of the first one, which is the first 20 minutes, understand, and I'll leave this with you, go and study it, go and look it up. Our bodies replenish themselves. They recreate themselves from a cellular level every so often, every couple of days, every 7 years. Our skin reproduces, our hair regrows, our nails. Our bodies are made to continue living, to heal themselves. Our minds are taught in a certain way to be a certain way. What happens if we can change the thought pattern? What happens then? what happens if we can change our thoughts from what we've been told we are to what we know we can be, and thus become? That's my question. I'd love to see your responses. And please don't use this as a forum to hate. Use this as a forum to ask intelligent questions and ask questions that can assist in the healing process. So if you've got questions, if you've got things that you would like to put forward, write them down below. And let's have a correspondence. Let's have a talk. You might want to put a video link up yourself in response. I'm not saying I have all the answers. I have the answers that I've come for myself, and I'm sharing them to you. So I'm Louise, and I'll chat to you soon.